Well, good morning, everybody. And as we get started today, I thought we'd just look here at a kind of a picture of national lightning strikes. And the storms you see just off the southeast coast here near the mid-Atlantic were quite disruptive over the southeast today, canceling numerous flights, one of which was mine, actually. So I just got into the hotel, had a 10-hour overnight car ride to get here, and hotel internet, even though I paid for the premium access, is very slow. So I'm tethered off my phone right now. Hopefully I have enough data to get this report out to you. But let's kind of talk about this, because this storm system is part of a larger complex of storms that yesterday, as we look at this satellite animation here, was a part of this deep low that was moving over the upper Midwest. And as the sun set last night, we could see the upper level low still sitting and spinning here. So that's why there's still some winter weather in this particular area, especially some light snow. But as we kind of move our way toward the end of this week, a lot of the focus is going to be on the big storm system that is coming into the western United States. But real quick, I wanted to show you some of the storm reports from last night, because the storms that did cancel a lot of these flights were quite rough. We had over 90 reports of severe weather, including 3 tornadoes out of this. But again, a lot of the attention is going to go to this very large winter storm that's just off the coast of California. And on satellite, it's quite impressive to see this. And it's making its way toward the west coast. But like we've been talking about, these systems are not going to be able to kind of get over the mountains. The flow is just not set up to do that. So we're going to see a tremendous amount of rain coming into California and snow at higher elevation. You can just see the last about 12 hours or so here on radar. Getting this to just produce systems that roll all the way across the country just aren't in the works, given the current setup with the jet stream. So you kind of put together your next 7 days, and you can see that while we do have some lighter precipitation east of the Rocky Mountains, including a system we'll talk about in just a few moments coming out of Texas and Louisiana and Mississippi, all the action is really west. Now that is until we get fully into next week, and that is when we're going to be watching for the potential for a system to kind of come out of parts of the Midwest and Ohio and Tennessee Valley and maybe run up the East Coast. I'll show you that in just a few seconds. But here is a look at the winds right now. So this is very early in the morning on Thursday. And there are actually multiple lows kind of stacked up behind this one that are going to continue to come into California while we watch this upper level low spin over the Great Lakes and eventually off to New England. So our all hazards weather map has still a couple of winter weather advisory areas here and here. Still watching a lot of flooding down here across parts of the south and southeast. But most of the action is going to be in the west, where there are high wind warnings, high wind advisories, winter storm warnings in the Sierra Nevada, and flood watches throughout most of California's Central Valley. And again, all of this is coming on the end of a very long and extended branch of the Pacific Jet, which we think will continue to dominate the pattern for at least another 7+ days. And it may even extend beyond that as well. But there are a few things that are changing in the forecast, and we need to take a quick look at them. So let's go right on into the European model and just see how things play out. So we're going to start this off. Again, this is 6 a.m. this morning. So you can continue to see where the upper level low is producing some light snow here in and around the Great Lakes states, but the front is clear at the East Coast, while the large winter storm has made its way onshore in California. Now, as we just play this forward throughout the day Thursday, I'm already into Friday morning here, going forward into Friday afternoon and evening. You notice that storm system just lifted. It pulled to the north rather than just punching across the country. And the reason for that is the jet stream flow just breaks up. It builds into a very weak but high amplitude ridge. And that's just the wrong setup to get something that hits the west coast and then eject here in the central United States. But there is a weaker wave that's going to be coming out of the mid-south here. And we're going to watch this one. This is primarily going to be a Friday night through Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon and evening, getting into Sunday. So do you see that right there? There is a chance we could see a bit more snow on the northern side of this. This is not a big snowmaker, but there could be some more snow here. But the heaviest rains will be kind of down the main front, which will stretch from the lower Mississippi River Basin down into eastern Texas. And one of the things we're going to be talking about over the next couple of weeks is what has all this precipitation done to some of our major waterways, like the Mississippi and its tributaries, and of course the reservoirs out west. I just looked this morning, Lake Oroville, one of the big reservoirs in the northern part of California, has already come up 60 feet since its low level in late November. So let's keep going. This is Sunday, getting out there into Monday and Tuesday, so you can see that's going to spread some heavier rains over parts of the Mid-Atlantic and the Carolinas by Monday. But again, multiple systems just continue to come into the west. So as we watch that through Tuesday and Wednesday, I think the thing that a lot of folks will be on the lookout for here is the setup between this potential low that's going to form right in this area here by next Wednesday and the high pressure that's sitting over parts of, coming out of Manitoba into Ontario, into Ontario, excuse me, because there is some potential that that storm system shows up here next Thursday and maybe makes it off to the East Coast. That's one of the big things we're going to be watching. So to give you some numbers here, just because most of this precipitation is focused on the West Coast, I played this out here. I'm just kind of running through this next 7 to 10 days. And the models are putting down somewhere in parts of Northern California over 15 inches of liquid equivalent. And the snowfall amounts, once you get into the Sierra Nevada, the Klamath Mountains, we could be looking at over 5 feet of snow at high elevation out of this. Quite a bit of snow coming down the northern side of the Snake River Valley, some still into the Central Rockies, and the amounts continue to build later in the 7-day time frame here into parts of the Cascades as well. But a little clipper system coming here around that high pressure cell, not a whole else a lot going on in the midsection of the country. That is until we watch this pattern change. So here's the deep troughs rolling through. Here's the one that produced the severe weather for the south exiting. So this is through tonight, getting out there into Saturday and Sunday. There's the weak wave that goes across the country that I mentioned. But this is the one we're going to be keeping an eye on right here. So this is the 12th. As we play forward through the 13th and 14th, while we continue to see deeper troughs off the west coast, we get a pretty classic setup here for the potential for an East Coast system. What that is a trough that's come out of the Tennessee, Mississippi, Ohio Valley, digs toward the Carolinas with high pressure to the north. And that's the setup. You end up getting this particular configuration. It tends to build a pretty substantial East Coast cyclone. So picking this up here on Thursday night going into Friday the 13th, we see the European ensemble really starting to cluster around the potential for possibly a nor'easter setting up here just off the Carolina coast. And it's a classic setup again with the high pressure to the north, as you see, and the models are attempting to put something down here. Now this is about 9-10 days away from now, so we're going to have to keep a close eye on it, but it would be a pretty substantial storm system should it come into fruition, so we'll keep talking about it. Okay, from there I do just want to show you that the new week 2 model forecasts are picking up on that newer, wetter pattern right in through here, and still keeping the west coast extremely wet with that strong onshore flow. The temperature discussion really doesn't change much. Until something high amplitude comes through and knocks all this out. We're mild here. We're mild in Europe. We're mild over in parts of China. Coldest air remains over Russia and Siberia. And we're going to just watch to see if there's any sort of a link at some point with the polar vortex to possibly move some things around. So we'll keep a close eye on that. The last bit I want to talk to you about is South America. You can see how quite warm it's going to be down here, really at the peak of summer for Argentina. And while the models did back off on how dry it was supposed to be, they're still drier for much of Argentina and southern Brazil, while central and northern Brazil are looking to be considerably wet. So this is going to continue to push a very large crop of soybeans out of Brazil, but impact some full season corn down south and then all of the crops grown in Argentina. So that story is going to continue to be top of mind as we get some new long-range data later on today, which I look forward to kind of curating and putting in the next forecast video. I appreciate your patience and your time this morning, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks.